People say that siblings are the beginning of otherness, but I don't want it to be that way. Maybe it's because I'm an only child, but I wish my husband and his siblings will always get along well. My name is Malia. I'm a 35-year-old housewife, busy with housework, childcare, and a part-time job. It's been nearly 10 years since I married my husband Albert, who I met at work. We've been blessed with 2 children during this time. Albert has always been kind, a loving husband and doting father, ever since we were dating. Our family gets along well. Every day is ordinary but peaceful and happy. Then one day a storm blew into our lives. The cause of this storm was my brother-in-law's fiancée. We met her for the first time last Christmas, and she was a bit of an unusual presence. It didn't bother me that she did nothing at my in-laws' house. After all, she wasn't my brother-in-law's wife yet, and my in-laws are not the type to demand help just because she's a daughter-in-law. As a person, I helped my mother-in-law out. Albert naturally helped out as well. My father-in-law and brother-in-law entertained the children. Amidst all of this, my brother-in-law's fiancée spent the whole time on her mobile phone. Even when greeting us for Christmas, she had her mobile phone in one hand, and during meals, she stared at her phone screen. There was no conversation beyond the initial greetings. Frankly, I wondered why she even came. I thought she was brought along unwillingly by my brother-in-law and was in a bad mood. I really wanted to meet everyone, so I insisted he bring me, but she had said during the initial greetings. She insisted on coming, yet ended up holding her mobile phone the whole time. My brother-in-law's girlfriend, whom he introduced to the family for the first time with the intention of marrying, I naturally worry if everything will be all right. Half a year after that Christmas, Dusty's getting married, my husband said, as he was changing clothes after returning from work. Dusty is my brother-in-law's name. He's finally decided to get married. Is it to that girl? Yeah, it seems like it. He's already 30 years old, and getting married is a milestone. However, I'm concerned about the character of the girl we met last Christmas. Marriage changes a lot compared to just dating. I wonder if they can have a peaceful married life. One day, my husband came home looking tired. Welcome back. Work seems to have been tough today. No, it wasn't work actually. I met Danette. Danette, that's Dusty's girlfriend and future wife. What does it mean that he met Danette? She suddenly came to my office. She said she had something to talk about. To the office? What did she want to talk about? Well, about that. I was surprised that she came to my husband's office, but even more surprised by what she had to say. Did she want help with the wedding expenses? Yeah, if that's not possible, she wants some pocket money. What? I don't understand. I really don't understand. The cost of a wedding should be manageable if kept within one's means. After all, Dusty has a steady job and earns well. And I don't understand the pocket money part. Why should my husband give pocket money to Dusty's girlfriend? What's more surprising is that she... What? As I urged him to continue, my husband said reluctantly, well, she asked if we could go out for a meal or something, just the 2 of us. What? Why? She says she wants to get along with me because I'll be her brother-in-law. Then she should come over to our house. Don't be angry. Of course I refused the idea of just the 2 of us. I told her she was welcome at our house. I'm so frustrated. Why does she need to meet my husband alone to get along? She and Dusty should just come to our house. The person who just fiddled with her mobile phone the whole time at Christmas is now saying this? Both the financial assistance and the meal. I couldn't stay silent about this and decided to talk to Dusty. I called him over to discuss something. I told Dusty everything about Danette's behavior. But Danette would never say such a thing, he said, unwilling to believe it. Of course he would think so. His fiancée asking his brother for financial help and pocket money, and even suggesting they meet alone. Who would believe such a story? But this is true. I believe Danette, Dusty said firmly as my husband explained with a troubled look. Trusting your partner is important when getting married. You shouldn't marry someone you can't trust. It's normal to believe and cherish your fiancé over your own brother. I only heard this story from my husband, but I didn't hesitate to believe him. A marriage is built on trust. Dusty isn't at fault. In the end, he left our house a bit upset. Seeing his reaction, my husband and I talked it over. If nothing else happens, we won't say anything more. We just want his happiness, but that was the decision we made. Danette's actions didn't stop. Having quit her job because she was getting married, Danette must have been really bored. She started visiting my husband at his office during his lunch break almost every day. Messages on his mobile phone, too. He asked the receptionist at his office not to let her through, and he ignored the messages. And he reported each incident to Dusty, but Dusty still didn't believe it. He was so smitten with Danette that he didn't want to believe what my husband was saying about her. How about we go out for a meal, just the two of us? Could you give your cute little sister some pocket money? I feel so lonely. If only Albert were by my side. Even after sending screenshots of these inappropriate messages to Dusty, he still didn't believe it. Then I got a call from Dusty. What kind of harassment is this, sending me such fake messages? Do you really want to sabotage my happiness that much? He was furious. My husband, at risk of being disliked by his own brother, was very depressed. He was completely downcast by his brother's rebellion, as they had always been close. Unable to bear seeing my husband like this, I sent a message to Danette, asking her to stop harassing him. Her reply was shocking. What does it have to do with you? I couldn't believe she called me you. This marriage should be called off. I have a bad feeling that Dusty is going to be unhappy. But no matter what we said, Dusty wouldn't listen to my husband. Their brotherly relationship was deteriorating. My husband's loneliness was heartbreaking. I wanted to meet with Danette and have a discussion with the four of us, Dusty and us, but time passed without that happening. One day, after my husband had gone on a business trip, Dusty called our home phone. Surprised by the unusual call, I answered and heard a loud voice. Malia, are you still at home? What are you doing? Huh? I was just hanging up laundry, but... What? If you're not coming today... Danette said if she's not attending the wedding, you need to pay the cancellation fee. His words left me speechless. I struggled to process what I had just heard. Wedding? Absence? Cancellation fee? What? I almost screamed. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? There's a wedding today? What? He seemed surprised by my panicked voice. I could sense his confusion over the phone. What are you talking about? I sent you an invitation. We never received it. That's impossible. You marked will attend on the reply card. We never sent a reply. After some back and forth about the invitation that never arrived, he seemed pressed for time. Forget about today. If Albert is on a business trip, it can't be helped. Let's talk properly later. He hung up. I stood there stunned. What on earth was happening? A wedding? Dusty's wedding today? I frantically called my husband, thinking he might not answer because he was on a business trip, but thankfully he did. Honey, I think something terrible has happened. I can't understand it if you don't explain properly. I must have been quite panicked. After taking a deep breath, I told him about the phone call with Dusty. A few days later, my husband returned from his business trip and we went to visit Dusty's new apartment. We looked up at the rental apartment and rang the intercom, but no one answered for a while. Finally, after pressing it several times, someone answered. To our surprise, it was Leave. It seemed Danette, now my sister-in-law, answered. We don't want to talk to rude people who cancel a wedding at the last minute. Pay the cancellation fee and leave. She's demanding a cancellation fee? We couldn't just leave, so we asked Danette to let Dusty come out. But she refused. Unable to hold back any longer, my husband called Dusty, who seemed to be in the bathroom, and hurried out. Finally, we were able to reach the door of Dusty's new home. Leave! But as soon as the door opened, Danette appeared again. Honestly, I'd had enough of her. Danette, I'm sorry we couldn't attend the wedding, but we need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. You're just going to make excuses, right? Don't think an apology will suffice after you embarrassed us at our wedding. We've brought the wedding gift we couldn't deliver. Please, come in. What a quick change of attitude. Her demeanor changed instantly upon seeing the money. My husband and I could only exchange wry smiles. Dusty, who hadn't been able to approach because Danette was blocking the door, hurried over. Albert, and Malaya too. Dusty, sorry we couldn't be at your wedding. About that, why did you lie about not receiving the invitation? If you couldn't make it because of work, you could have just told me. We never received the invitation. That's impossible. The back and forth about the missing invitation began again. So we decided to look at the reply postcard. Here it is. This address, isn't it nearby? Oh, it is. My husband, Dusty, and I stared at the postcard. Indeed, the address seemed to be from a local post office, likely near our area. Our house is about a 20-minute drive from Dusty's apartment, and if it were in our neighborhood, it would have had a different post office address. Did you ask the local post office to handle this? Why would I do something so complicated? Dusty asked, puzzled, and my husband quickly replied, Right, but who would go through such trouble? By the way, who handled the invitations? Danette did. Dusty replied reluctantly to my question. I thought so. Danette had mainly handled the wedding preparations while Dusty worked. She was responsible for arranging the invitations. It seemed like a deception. And something had been bothering me since I saw the postcard. The names written here, yours and mine, they're clearly not in our handwriting. My husband is skilled in calligraphy and writes beautifully. I'm the opposite, embarrassingly bad at writing. Usually I have my husband fill out any documents for our children's school, but the names written there were in a very cute handwriting, clearly not ours. I can't write in such a cute style. This handwriting, it's Danette's. How had we not noticed until now? Well, we hadn't looked closely enough, I suppose. Only now did Dusty realize. Danette, what is the meaning of this? I don't know any. It's clearly your handwriting. Realizing the truth, Dusty angrily confronted Danette. In her panic, Danette was acting suspiciously. My husband calmed down his angry brother and asked Danette quietly, Why did you do this, Danette? We admit it was our fault for not confirming the wedding date, but we believed the invitation would come, so we didn't bother to ask. I'm saddened that I missed my brother's big day. Why did you do it? Danette, initially scared, hesitated before speaking. Because you were in the way. What? Albert attending the wedding, showing other relatives the messages I sent. I thought it would be troublesome. You were in the way. What? So she tried to set us up for her own self-protection? Because of you, our parents and other relatives scolded us. They asked us why we prioritized work over my brother's wedding. They called my wife inconsiderate, too. Danette fell silent at this. I guess she did it to tarnish our reputation among the relatives. If the relatives think badly of you, maybe you won't come to gatherings anymore. Yes, spot on. Her selfish reasoning gave me a headache. Before we could express our anger, someone else acted. It was Dusty. Danette, what have you done? So the messages Albert mentioned were true? So what? Albert works for a good company. He should be able to support his cute sister, give her pocket money. Never trust someone who calls themselves cute. That's what I thought now. You what? It's Dusty's fault for earning so little. Danette openly expressed her thoughts. I thought she was just easygoing, but she was this kind of person? My husband, Dusty, and I were shocked. I want to be a housewife, relax at home, lunch at my favorite places. Dusty's salary won't allow that, so I asked Albert. The allowance is one thing, but why the need to meet alone? What's wrong with wanting to dine with a handsome man? Seeing her defiant attitude, I was speechless. Danette, perhaps overwhelmed, started tearing up. Crying over this? I thought Dusty would explode in anger, but instead he sighed. He seemed to be holding himself back. Somehow maintaining his composure, he extended his hand to Danette. She placed her hand on his. Dusty, will you forgive me? He shook off her hand. What are you misunderstanding, Danette? Just give it to me. What? What do you mean? Your mobile phone. Show it to me now. What? No. Just show it. Ah! Dusty snatched the mobile phone from Danette. After a moment of operating it, his face turned pale. Figures. Hey, give it back. Avoiding Danette's reaching hand, Dusty spoke quietly. You've been cheating, haven't you? At those words, my husband moved. He held the mobile phone high, out of Danette's reach. With a similar height to Dusty, it was easy for him to take it. His expression grew more severe as he looked at the phone screen. I see. Quite a few, huh? What do you mean? Look, my husband showed me the phone screen. That's a violation of privacy. Danette shouted in anger, but Dusty held her back. Wow, how many guys are there? The screen revealed a chat application with several men listed. The content of the messages was quite explicit. Had fun today. Let's do it again. I'm free tomorrow since my boyfriend is working. Today was intense. I need more stamina. Sneaking around is so exciting. Can't get enough with my boyfriend. How about a hotel tomorrow? These messages were just the tip of the iceberg. You're the worst. Truly the worst. Danette yelled at us, but I thought she was the lowest of the low. Danette finally fell silent under our glares. Dusty sighed. Oh, never thought I'd be divorcing so soon after getting married. What? Divorce? Danette was the one who panicked at his words. I wanted to ask her, did she not think divorce was on the table? Of course, I can't stay married to someone who cheats. Wait, it was just for fun. You can see from the messages it was just play. You think it's okay to be involved with other men if it's just play? I do. No, I don't. I won't do it anymore. I won't meet them again. Her slip of honesty made Dusty sigh again, who knows how many times that day. I know a lawyer. I'll introduce you. Thanks, Albert. A lawyer? My husband gently placed a hand on Dusty's shoulder. Dusty looked at my husband with a near tearful face. Danette screamed as if it was the end of the world. A sad ending for Dusty. I absolutely don't want a divorce. For Danette, it must have seemed like the end of the world. She caused her own storm and ruined everything. Such a busy woman. Later, Dusty came to our house after a while. While smiling and playing with our delighted sons. I've successfully divorced, he reported. His face looked refreshed. The numerous infidelities from before the marriage. Danette foolishly left messages and even photos in her phone, providing perfect evidence. The divorce ended with Dusty receiving compensation. Of course, Danette couldn't pay. Her parents deeply apologized and paid on her behalf. What happened to Danette? Dusty answered quietly. She's working from morning till night to repay her parents. They said they'll keep a strict eye on her so she won't escape. Dusty's face turned complex hearing about his almost in-laws. It seems Danette will lead a very constrained life from now on. She wanted an easy life as a housewife, but that seems unlikely now. And don't underestimate housewives. I can't imagine someone with such misconceptions managing to work properly. She's probably whining while working. Well, it was tough, but it's good that you found out early. Think of it as a valuable life experience. Yeah, I'll take my time, but eventually, I'll start looking for someone else, my true soulmate. Dusty, you'll be fine. Keep it up. Albert, I'm sorry for the trouble, and thank you. Don't mention it. Protecting my little brother is natural. My husband and Dusty shared a laugh. I was worried when things got tense, but brothers being close is best after all. Watching them. Mom, what's going on? I smiled as my sons came over. I placed my hands on both of their heads. You two, always stay close like your dad and uncle, okay? They looked puzzled for a moment, but then started giggling. Of course, I love Erwin, even when he's a restless sleeper. I love Shannon, too, even though he's a crybaby. Watching them play together, I smiled warmly.